Hey, what is going on, guys? We are going live here on the Thursday before opening day of fishing season in Wisconsin. So, we're going to be talking about where things are at. I've been on the water quite a bit, fishing panfish and bass the last couple days, so I know exactly what water temps are, kind of where the fish are holding. I've been talking to some guys in the DNR up here as well, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on up here as far as water temps, where the spawn is at, where walleyes are being found, and bass and panfish. So, with that said, if you guys are joining, make sure you ask any questions in the chat that you have about Wisconsin opening day of fishing season. Um, I'll be doing another report after the opener early next week, kind of an actual report on how the fishing went. I'll be out Saturday and Sunday, and I should be able to give you even better information at that point. So, um, I was out today and yesterday on the water on a bigger area lake up here in northwest Wisconsin. So, to give you guys an idea where I'm at, I'm up in the Spooner Hayward area. So, I'm fishing a lot of the lakes locally here. So most of my information is going to be for this area up in the Northwoods, but I should have pretty good idea where things are at down in southern Wisconsin too. But this is typically going to be kind of up in that northern Wisconsin region for most of this information. Um, Already got a question from Jack. He says, "What depth do you think crappie will be at 50-degree water?" Um, they're gonna probably be stacking up on the edges of where they're gonna move up to spawn in 50-degree water. So look for those, kind of shallow reeds and brush that they're gonna spawn in a month or so, 3-4 weeks maybe, and get off that on the drop on the edge of the weeds and wherever the weed edge is. A lot of lakes it's in 10 to 15 feet, and start looking for them there. That's typically where they're going to be. And let me know where you guys are tuning in from as well. If you guys are from Wisconsin or if you're tuning in from out of state. But yeah, so anyway, I was on the water and found some really pretty warm water already up in some of the shallow bays. So I did find 57 degrees was the warmest, and a big shallow bay with some wind blowing into it. And that was yesterday when the sun was out. So it actually went up almost 5 degrees from the time I got there to the time I quit fishing. So that's a pretty good temp for this time of year. And that area was loaded with fish. It's on a bigger lake, and the main lake was still only 48. So you're talking a 10-degree difference between that bay and the main lake. So that's one thing you guys want to look for, especially for bass and panfish. If you can find anywhere where the wind's been blowing that warmer water in over a couple days of sun, and it's stacking that warmer water up in shallow, that's going to hold a lot of fish. And it's looking like those type of spots are going to be in the mid to upper 50s. Looks like main lake basins on the bigger lakes are holding right around that 48 to 50-degree mark. So that's kind of where we're at as of today. I don't see that going up at all. Looks like we're going to have clouds and rain for the next couple of days here, or at least overnight and tomorrow. It may even drop slightly, but I don't think it'll drop much. I think it's going to hold pretty much in that range. So that's not bad. That's a decent water temp for opening day, and we're going to have some fish up shallow, which I have found actually in the last couple days. And Bill has a question. Was there a smelt run in Ashland this year yet? Yes, it's almost over from what I've heard. The smelt were running pretty hard last week and earlier this week, but I think it's starting to taper off. So now I think kind of from what I've seen, there's definitely walleye shallow. I did catch a couple bass fishing today in like 8 to 12 feet of water. So that's pretty typical for this time of year. On a normal year, which I would say we've had pretty close to normal year of ice out and warm up, that 10 to 15 foot depth is usually pretty good during the daytime for walleyes. On darker lakes, they'll push up into even 4 or 5 feet. And then at night, they're going to possibly be really shallow. There's actually some walleyes still spawning right now. So you may catch them really shallow in those early morning, late evening hours. I'm talking like up even into 2 or 3 feet of water at night on some of those spawning areas. So look for those males to be still hanging around the spawning areas. A lot of the females are going to be done and spawned out, and they may be tough to catch, but they'll be uh, they'll be around. There'll still be a few late spawners too, I'm sure, on some of the bigger lakes and the cooler lakes. So don't be afraid to try really shallow. I'm fishing a lake where almost every opening day we catch walleyes that are still in the spawn, even on a warmer year. So, and we're catching those on jerk baits up in 3-4 feet of water. So definitely pay attention to that. And jerk baits have been really good for me on opening day for both bass and walleyes. So I'll definitely be throwing some jerk baits, some X wraps, some husky jerks, some shadow wrap deeps. Those are kind of my favorites. And another thing that's been working really well for the smallmouth and the largemouth here the last couple days is paddle tail swim baits. So I've been using the little 2.5-inch Rapala Mayor, the Crush City Mayor, and those have been hot, as well as 3-inch. And but those little ones in this colder water seem to do really well on a 1/4-ounce jig head, and crushed quite a few fish on that in the last couple days. Obviously, live bait is going to work as well. Anytime you pitch a jig, like an 1/8-ounce jig and a fathead at a walleye this time of year, there's a pretty good chance it's going to bite. So if you can find a pod of them hanging in more of that 10 to 15 foot, that's going to be a good presentation as well. Slayer Mike says, I'm in Hastings, Minnesota, and still fishing the creeks, but looking forward to pike and bass. Yeah. And Gilgetter says, I'm in South Michigan. I'm fishing shallow, dark bottom bays if I can find them. North side of the lake warms quicker from the angle of the sun. Yep, and I agree with that to some extent, but in my opinion, it really matters what direction the wind is blowing. So if you got a south wind blowing that warm surface water into the north end of the lake, definitely is going to warm up quicker. But if you've got a really strong north wind pushing that warm surface water out of that bay and recycling it, that can actually reverse the effect and cool the bay down. And then you want to head to the other end of the lake and start looking there, especially a strong wind. A light wind isn't going to do a ton, but you start getting a big north wind and it's going to push that warm water to the south. So pay attention to that wind direction, because for those shallow water fish like bass and panfish, they're most likely going to be on the warm side. I mean, I've seen a 10-degree swing easily when the wind's blowing from one side to the other. And it's tempting to fish that calm side because it's nice over there, right? It's you don't have to sit in the wind, but in the springtime, most of the time you're better off fishing on the windy side, staying in that warmer water. Bill says heading out for brookies Saturday. Oh, that brings up a good point. Trout fishing. So the rivers up here are actually really, really, really low right now for stream trout guys. We didn't have much runoff. We haven't had a lot of rain, so the streams are low. So you're going to want to fish those bigger streams and count on fish being pushed into the holes, the deeper stuff. And honestly, I really actually love fishing trout in those conditions because it concentrates the fish in like the more obvious spots. They're not spread out as much. So this should be an excellent year for trout season for you guys going out after trout. It's looking really good. Now in those smaller streams, when they're really low and clear, those trout can be really finicky and hard to catch. They spook real easily, so you got to sneak up on them and be a little careful so you don't spook those fish, and use smaller, lighter lures so that splashdown doesn't spook them. But it should be good overall. Now, as far as panfish go, we already had a question on panfish, and feel free to chip in, you guys. Chime in with any questions you've got. Let me know where you're fishing opening day. And as far as panfish go, I know a lot of guys do target panfish on opening day, even though it's game fish opener technically. But the panfish are going to be looking for that warm water, and that's kind of like was mentioned already. Find those dark bottom warm bays with the wind blowing into them, either at the mouth of them or even way back into them if it's sunny and calm out. And that's going to be where you're going to find a lot of those bluegills and crappies kind of pushing into that warmer water, getting their metabolisms up, starting to feed a little bit more. And a great technique to catch them this time of year is just a float and some kind of either live bait or a little fly or a little jig suspended beneath that float at whatever level you're seeing those fish at. That's a great way to catch them. And for crappies, it's a great time to use a little jerkbait. Those little Euro Tackle Z spenders that I use are killer this time of year for crappies. When they set up on those outside weed lines, there's just something about a jerkbait for every species this time of year that's just irresistible. So just that twitch, pause, and that thing just hangs there, and crappies just nail that thing. So it's a fun way to fish and cover water in the spring if you find some crappies that are up on the edges. And definitely recommend trying that out. Charlie is heading out on Green Bay. What is considered a shallow depth on Green Bay? I did fish Green Bay this spring. I actually filmed a video down there. And I mean, I would consider shallow on Green Bay probably 4 or 5 feet. But this time of year, those walleyes will definitely still be up in that stuff. And along the rivers, they might be even shallower, up in 2 or 3 feet. So they get pretty dang shallow, especially at night there. So don't be afraid to go way up in and try it, especially if you're not getting bit out in that 8 to 12 deeper stuff. We've had enough rain here in Green Bay. That's good. I know when I was down there was a lot more water down there than there is up in our area. The rivers they were flowing pretty good down there. So Slayer Mike says I was down by Mondovi yesterday and the creeks were chocolate milk. They were clear around the Ellsworth area. Interesting. Yeah, the rain's been real spotty this year. Now for you guys lake fishing, that doesn't matter as much. Obviously, you're not relying on that flow for any kind of bite. It's just kind of is what it is. Although with this rain, this colder rain, I just heard it start raining outside just now. It may cool the lakes down a little bit, which is kind of unfortunate for opening day. But opening day is going to be sunny, and by the afternoon, it's all going to reverse again, and the shallows are going to start warming up. And then if you guys can get off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's just going to get warmer and warmer and warmer. Those days are going to be phenomenal. Like the fish are going to pour into the shallows on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with the forecast the way it's looking. I mean, they're talking mid 70s, calm winds, high sun. Like it's going to crank for a few days after opener. So if you can take any time off and fish that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those days they're going to be on fire for pretty much everything. Smallies are going to move up shallow on the rocks. Largemouth are going to push up shallow and start feeding. Panfish are going to pour into those dark areas. I mean, it's going to go off. Walleyes will be feeding heavily on, and yeah, it's going to be a fantastic opening week here. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm stoked. I got some big plans for this week. So anyone else, let me know where you're planning on fishing. Are you fishing a river? Are you fishing a lake? Do you go trout fishing on opening day? What are your fishing traditions for opener? When I was a kid, we used to fish. We always used to trout fish on opener. We used to stream trout fish. There was a section of river we used to go to, and we would just throw crawlers in the deeper holes, and we'd always come out with a limited trout and have a big trout dinner that night. And since we've done that, the regs have changed on that section of the stream, and we can only keep 1/14 now, and it's artificials only, and we just have kind of switched over to fishing lakes the last few years. And my dad's not quite as mobile as he used to be. He can't make those long hikes. So now he gets in the boat with me, and we go pretty much just throw jerk baits and swim baits, throw artificials for a kind of a combination of walleyes and smallmouth. And where we usually find them is like a mix of rock and weeds. That's kind of our best spots are all like right on the edge of either islands or peninsulas, anywhere there's some rock that meet weeds. That's where we find them in like 4, 5, 6 feet of water. And it's a really fun bite. Nice mixed bag. And once in a while you get a pike or a largemouth too. Jackson says, "Hey, nice snook. Looked like a blast. Have you tried the new show jigs?" No, I haven't. But yes, the snook fishing down in Florida was amazing. We just got back a couple days ago, and we put, man, I think we had about a dozen snook over 28 inches, and my biggest one was 39, which was an absolute giant. Just catching them all right off the beach, right where everybody's walking and looking for shells and building sandcastles. So it was pretty sick. But no, I haven't tried those. I'll check them out. I'll look them up when I'm done here. Taking the kids out crappie fishing, the grandkids, nice. It should be good. I mean, especially Sunday. I think Sunday is going to really take off with that warmer weather coming. St. Louis River on Saturday. Is that so? Remind me, does the St. Louis River open for Wisconsin season or Minnesota's? I was thinking the St. Louis opened for Minnesota's opener, which will be next weekend. I can't remember that for sure, but let me know. I can't remember. But that is a great bite. Always lots of walleyes up there. That's somewhere I'm going to definitely get to this year. Probably during the week after the opener, because it does get a little bit crazy up there. Yeah, Gilgutter, 39-incher. That was a giant fish, probably 25-pounder roughly. Believe it or not, it's not my PB snook though. I did catch a 44-incher down there, probably about 8-10 years ago. Same thing though, just using big live baits in the surf, and boy, was that a giant. I mean, I will probably never catch another snook that big, but it was pretty incredible. That fishing down there is world class for sure. Okay, Wisconsin opener if you have a Wisconsin license. Nice. Yeah, that's the St. Louis should be on fire. I mean, those fish should still be spawning up in there, so that should be on point. That should be a really good opener for you guys up the river. And there's some big fish up there. A lot of big walleyes up in that area right now. They come out of the lake to spawn in the river, and some of those fish in the lake are pushing over 30 inches. So that is going to be a good time. Good question. What is the most important factor in what species you plan on targeting? I guess whatever your goals are. If you want to catch a lot of fish, put a lot of fish in the live well and keep the kids entertained. A live bait bite on crappies or bluegills is pretty hard to beat for, if that's your goal. If you want to catch some bigger fish, maybe not as many numbers, but have a kind of a lot of fun. I really love that jerkbait bite. It's a multi-species bite, which I like. One cast could be a big smallie. The next cast could be a nice walleye. Next cast could be a pike or a muskie. And you might even pick off a crappie or two on jerkbaits. So I like fishing with techniques that are going to land me multiple species personally. Some guys are just walleye guys. They're just throwing that jig and minnow, hoping to get a bunch of walleyes. If that's your goal is a fish fry and you really like walleye, hey, that's probably a great technique. Go look around on your sonar for pods of walleyes and just pitch live baits at them. But I have the most fun targeting multi-species with artificials. That's kind of what I've really grown to enjoy. Opener especially. Seems like those fish just they're there in those spots they expect them to be. They haven't been pressured yet, and they're pretty easy to catch on artificials on opening day. So I don't even bring live bait typically anymore on opening day of fishing season, because we're literally just throwing swim baits and jerk baits pretty much all day. So But I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question. I guess it's just mainly what your goals are. Do you want a lot of fish? Do you want a certain species only? Do you want to catch multiple species? But any way you look at it, anything you're targeting is going to be shallow right now, relatively shallow compared to what you're going to see later in the summer. So that's one nice thing about this time of year too, is everything's pretty accessible, and no matter what way you like to fish, you can pretty much do it this time of year, other than maybe vertical jigging can be pretty tough. But it's a great time of year to fish, and this is looking like a great opener. I mean, this is looking like, weather-wise, one of the best openers we've had in a long time. Like the weather we're going to have tomorrow, like rainy, cloudy, cold, that's usually what we get on opening day. But this year, actually, Saturday's looking beautiful. So we're going to luck out, I think, on weather this year. So, yeah, anything I haven't covered yet? Let's see, for you bass guys. Okay, Matt's saying the St. Louis doesn't open for walleye or pike until May 10th, and that's what I thought. And that's the Minnesota opener, and I'm pretty sure he's right about that. So I would be definitely looking in those regulations before anyone goes and fishes the St. Louis this Saturday, because I just don't remember that being the way it is. But good catch. So, river guys, river fishing should be really good. Anyone fishing a river, whether it's a big river or a small river, you're probably going to be fishing primarily post-spawn walleyes. It sounds like the spawn is mainly done, and it can be a great time to catch a lot of fish. So they're going to be a little bit shallower than they were pre-spawn too, which is always nice. You can get them up on the edges, especially towards morning and evening. And this is also a great time for anyone fishing lakes or rivers to fish at night. This is one of the best times of year to catch walleyes at night after dark. And I will probably be doing a video on that here in the next week or two, kind of how I target walleyes at night up shallow. So stay tuned for that one. Flowage smallmouth in northwest Wisconsin. Lots of wood and rock. Yeah. I mean, right now, those smallmouth in those, especially darker water flowages, they're going to be warming up into the 50s for sure. And I would say those smallmouth are probably going to be, I would look for them more on rock than I would on wood, because what they're going to be doing is they're going to be staging to spawn, and they're going to want to be near rock or gravel that they're be making nests on before too long. So staging areas near rock, or actually on rock itself, that's where you want to be. Now, if you've got wood and rock, I mean, obviously that's going to be a key area if you've got both in one place. Definitely don't be afraid to fish super shallow, especially in darker stained water flowages, because those smallmouth might be right up there in 2 or 3 feet of water, basking in that sun where it's heating up those shallows. And also, if the river mouth is dumping warm water into the flowage, the river mouth can be a really good spot too, because that warm water flow coming into that cooler lake can just draw fish like a magnet. And that's true for any lake, even like a basin lake that just has a creek flowing into it. You get a couple warm days where that rainwater and that water in the river is 10 degrees warmer than the lake. Those river mouths can be absolute dynamite. So pay attention to that. Also, another one, if you're fishing a big lake and there's a smaller lake connected to it that has current coming out of that smaller lake, that's almost for sure going to be warmer than the big lake, and that can be a hot spot as well. And fish will move into that smaller lake too, especially if it's shallow, got a muddy bottom. I've seen on big deep clear lakes that have a shallow lake connected to them, fish just flood into that warmer, shallower lake in the springtime to take advantage of the warmer water and all the panfish and bait and everything that are moving into that. And even a bay that's somewhat connected but isn't like a wide mouth bay, but more of like a cove or something like that, where it's got a narrow mouth, can be an absolute hot spot this time of year. So pay attention to those things. It's all about water temperature this time of year. I mean, water temperature is king when it comes to spring fishing. So now some places, big basins where you don't have a lot of structure, there's not going to be a lot of temperature difference, especially if the sun's not out and it's not windy, and the fish can be almost anywhere. But if they can find that warmer water, they will find it, and you're going to find bait and fish both in those warmer water locations. So definitely something you got to really watch this time of year. Any other questions from anyone on opening day fishing? Like I said, I think it's going to be a pretty typical pattern. So if you guys have had success in other years, I think going back to those standard techniques for opening day should be really good this year. I think it's going to be a very solid standard year, good weather. I don't think we're going to struggle to find fish where we normally find them at all. So that will be nice for a change. It's been a couple of crazy years. Last year was such an early ice out, and it was totally wacky what was going on. It was an early ice out, but then the water didn't warm up for a long time. Fish were spawning all for like a month and a half, just very slowly working their way through the spawn, and it was a very strange year. Will I be fishing in Hayward? I will not be actually in Hayward on opener. I'll be there probably during the week next week. I'm going to make my way up that way, but I've got another lake actually south of me that we typically go to on opening day that we've had pretty good luck on in the past. So it's especially good for jerkbait bite, which I really like. I like a good jerkbait bite, and this lake in particular just seems to be, the timing is right on opener for it. So I won't be up in Hayward this weekend, but I will probably be making my way up there next week. So yeah, trying to think of anything else that we need to cover. I guess that's pretty much it. Just get out there and start looking for that warm water, start catching some fish, and hopefully you guys all have an awesome opener. And like I said, I'll be doing another report after the opening weekend next week to let you know how it's going, kind of give you an update on those water temps and what's going on out there. So definitely stay tuned for some more videos coming up. I'm working on one that should be out tomorrow, just in time for opening day. And then I'm hoping to do some filming on opening day this year as well, maybe do a catch and cook or something. So let me know if there's anything you guys want to see this spring, any questions you have that you want answers to. I've got lots of time now. I'm doing this full time at this point. So I've got a lot of ideas, but I can always use more. So I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for watching, and good luck on opening day. Get hooked up, guys. We'll see you hopefully a little earlier next week on the report. So have a good one, guys.